This year's annual Options for Success Conference at the Red Lion Hotel in Medford is a tremendous experience for residents of Southern Oregon who experience a disability and have a desire to return to work.
I always thought Haskell was kind of a funny name for an organization when I first heard about it. I had a real problem with getting patients to my office, all kinds of bureaucratic red tape that I couldn't cut through. I have a patient that needed transportation to the office, couldn't get there because they didn't qualify for a program. Frankly, RBTD was no help at all. And then I heard about Haskell and I gave them a call, and what happened was there was no hassle. They got the job. And so I was kind of wondering why the Haskell name. And then last session, somebody came to my office, and that's when I learned what the Haskell thing was all about. When Randy stepped up and started hassling me about funding for the different groups. And so then I knew where the name really came from, is obviously Randy knows how to hassle people if he needs to, and he does a good job of it. So Randy, thanks for your work, and especially for my patients and other patients. Thank you for having a way of getting these people from their home to their doctor's offices, to their appointments for their pharmaceuticals, or getting to the hospital. When everyone else has failed them, your organization stepped up and did it. And you did it in a way that's not only cost effective for them, but the way they're treated when they're transported is different. They're treated with respect, and I really appreciate that. When they get to my office when I'm going through hassle, they're not exhausted, they're not tired, and they're not in a bad mood. And I appreciate that. Okay, so thank you very much. And I'll stop there. Thank you, Randy.
Oh, no, I always give Ron a hard time. Really, you know, I just can't emphasize it. These men have lives, businesses, like Dr. Bass was talking, and they took a long time out of their schedule to come here. So their sincerity is, you know, right up front, and they're great. You can talk to them, you can go to them, they're accessible, and they listen.
I went to this seminar, and this guy was teaching on goals, and he said, take a piece of paper, fold it 4 times. So you've got 4 long, narrow strips, you know, in your paper. He said, you have 10 minutes, write down 100 things you want. I thought, what? Write down 100 things you want. Well, I just happened to be sitting next to a woman who had a ranch in Montana, a home in St. Croix, a townhouse in Sedona, you know, traveled the world, went to Paris for lunch if she wanted to. I'm sitting next to this woman. I'm thinking, what could she possibly still want? And I'm sitting here thinking I'm so needy. And I took out that list. He said, time starting, 10 minutes. You know what? I got to 12 and my brain went blah. I couldn't think of more than 12 things. And I'm looking over here at Irene, and she's just writing things down. She got 100 things that she wanted in 10 minutes. And I got stopped at 12. So the moderator says, okay, Irene, share some things for us on your list. I thought, yeah, this ought to be good. Irene says, well, we need a new can opener at the ranch. And then she said, I want to bring 5 inner city kids to the ranch every summer to spend a month with us. So it can be anything. But what I learned was I was stuck. Terrible to be stuck. I went to dinner and I think I had 17 on my list. I went to bed, I think I had 33 on my list. I woke up in the middle of the night about 4 in the morning and I started writing, and I have never stopped writing.
First of all, and they're probably scattered all over, but we have many sponsors for this conference, and many of them sit in on a planning team, and we meet monthly all year to plan this conference. So would the planning team members please stand up? Some of them were already standing, so it makes it tricky, huh? I want to do a very special thank you too to Christy and Mindy. I see Christy back there, I don't see Mindy. Christy and and Mindy handle all the registration. They make sure your name tags are coded, that you get lunch, that, you know, everything happens. So they've been working really hard this week. I also want to introduce a very special person. You may have noticed that this year, even though it's our 3rd annual conference, is that this is the first year we've had a website. And I'd like to introduce our webmaster, John Mahoney, back in the corner there. How many people got to look at the website? Good, it worked. Yeah, that's good. Great. Okay. Like I said, we have several agencies that sponsor this conference, which include the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, the Oregon Commission for the Blind, DUDE, which stands for Disabled United Direct Empowerment, Mobility Unlimited, CASTLE, Independent Living Center, Rogue Valley COG, Easter Seals, SOU Disability Resources, the WIN Project, or Work Incentive Network, and we have 2 very special sponsors that I'd like to make note of. One is the Oregon Competitive Employment Project, and Sarah Kendall couldn't be with us today, but they have very generously sponsored this conference for the last 3 years. And another very special sponsor is CareSource. We've got a few people here from CareSource. Would you all stand? At supporting our conference in not only in financial contributions, but they also donate their wonderful graphic designer, Mara, who has done all the beautiful materials for the conference.
Do you round down?
Maybe not.
It's a pretty interesting and timely display here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is our new alternate format ballot that we've got.
And we use that here in the state of Oregon?
Yeah, this is a new thing. Actually, I can actually email this to somebody if they have a disability, but they can vote at home if they have a computer.
Really?
Or a printer. Or we have these systems in each county elections office. We also have portable systems that can go out to voters. And all I got to do is go through the ballot.
Select attention. Warning. The single race contest. Race statewide nonpartisan. Favorite family holiday, vote for one.
And when I get to where I want to vote, I just press select.
Christmas.
I go through the whole ballot like that. And when I'm all done, I print it out and put it in my return envelope and sign it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool solution we have.
So you travel with this?
Excuse me, our speakers are starting to get
Oh,
ready.
good.
So
Thank you.
would like
Very good. Well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll come and ask you a little more about that. Thank you.
Next we have coming up is Jean Newton. Jean is with the Oregon Secretary of State's Elections Division and is the program officer for what's known as HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. And this is particularly timely, given we have a big election coming up. But Jean has worked for many years helping to make the voting process and information more accessible to people with disabilities. So this is really exciting to have here today. Thank you for coming, Jean. Come on up, help me welcome you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for this wonderful conference. I've been to several conferences like this in the last year and a half, 2 years, as we've been out promoting what we're doing with accessible voting. And this has been a great conference, a good response, great participants and people really interested. And as Representative said, get involved, and the best way that we can get involved to start with is to get out and vote. The Help America Vote Act was passed in 2002 by the Congress after the rather interesting election we had in the year 2000. If some of you remember the hanging chads and the problems we had that year. Congress passed the Help America Vote Act, and one of the requirements in that Help America Vote Act, along with some other things, was making voting accessible in the same manner for privacy and independence for everybody. That included people with disabilities, and especially people with disabilities, that's made available in the same way. Now in Oregon we vote by mail. When I first came on this job in 2003, I'd always say, well, we're trying to make voting more accessible. People would say, well, we have vote by mail. We don't have a problem here. And I would look at them and say, well, you know, actually vote by mail, when it was, you know, there's some great things about vote by mail. All of a sudden now the ballot goes to the voter rather than the voter having to go to the ballot. And that created accessibility for a large population that maybe had problems with transportation, maybe had issues of getting out of work for that one single day to go down and vote at the polling place, et cetera, et cetera. But what it did, it created maybe some new barriers for people who are unable, for whatever reason, to access a printed ballot. And so the task that we had, and the task that I had when I first started this, is how do I make voting accessible to people with disabilities so that they can vote the same way that we all do, which is how we vote at home.